can even be faster to respond, just in case we have anyone coming in from, from out there, from out of state, into our communities.
Well, Dr. Adeyanju, let's go back. You were talking about the move by the governor of Ondo State. Well, there must be some kind of extras from your state, knowing full well that first, as commissioner, you're a colleague of your governor. So what are the extras that you've been able to put in place to see that this doesn't actually get out of hand?
Well, thank you so much. One thing I must say is that each person knowing his role is very critical. Then establishing necessary protocol. What the governor has done, and that is quite commendable, and I recommend to others, is that at each of the executive council meeting, there must be update on Ebola.
Does that update trickle down to the people?
What I mean by that is that each commissioner, has role to play in this. It's a multi-sectoral approach. One, as commissioner for health, I can coordinate, be a nexus or link for others. Agric need to talk to the hunters, those who encroach into the forest.
Right.
Education, talking about the teachers that needs to be sensitized, the pupil, so that they can sensitize the pupil about identifying the signs. What are the signs and symptoms?
I don't mean to butt in here, but again, the bushmeat business is big business in Ondo State. So when you talk about the hunters, how has that affected the business in your state? And how much of awareness have you given to the hunters?
The business has been grounded. The hunters are not finding it funny. But we need to let them know that we need a sacrifice at the moment. For us,
I'm sorry to grind in. You just took their means of livelihood. Are you Are you
let me tell
helping
you,
them
it is just for
with other things to, maintain their livelihood? Because when you take that, they don't do it in your presence, but they will do it when you're away. So you have to provide an alternative.
No, I see. They won't do. Nobody will want to die. I must be frank.
But they would want to eat. They would die either way, whether through hunger or
and they will not die through hunger. There are several means to survive. Those who engage in training on the bushmeat also sell fishes too.
Okay.
They have other things that they sell, not only the bushmeat. So of course, like I said, the Ministry of Agric, doing sensitization, even to the veterinary doctors, and then women affairs. We had to go because there's a program that we call the Ebola program, where all women will meet with the wife of the governor, and we had to go in there and give them sensitization. About 5,000 women converging, at early about some 4 weeks ago. So each person knowing what to do, Commissioner for Natural Resources, Commissioner for Environment, because always critical about this, and I'd like to just add that in addition to what you're talking about in the schools, hygiene, hand washing must be emphasized to this pupil. And of course, we'll intend to provide sanitizers and then train some of the teachers on the use of the infrared thermometer, to be able to pick anybody who's got a very high temperature. So, and then letting them to understand the protocol of notifying the appropriate body. This, are just basic things that we need to put in place.
Well, Dr. Dr. Hejiriga, when he started talking about bushmeat, or rather, when I brought the issue of bushmeat, what comes to mind is the information we have so far. No, there was no Ebola in Nigeria. So what we had is an imported case of Ebola. So we're talking about an index case. So invariably, we're talking about a safe wildlife or a safe hunting for the hunters. But when we talk about some kind of cultures or attitude of some of us as people, you talked about the simple hygiene of hand washing. I want us to talk more on that in your capacity as a medical practitioner. What are those things that you would want people to know to stay healthy in order not to contract the virus and even other viruses?
Yeah, so it's important that people maintain not just public health hygiene, but personal hygiene. And you're right to mention that hand washing, very important. And the process of even hand washing is important. it must be under running water. When that is done, then you're sure that at least you won't be transferring anything back to for example, the knob with which you turn the tap on.
Right.
And it's important that certain places around the homes, around offices, where people can come around, it's important to have this, basic hand washing soaps and the water available, and also hand sanitizers where possible. It's good to have it. You would notice that because Ebola virus disease, of course, is transmitted from man to man, from body secretions or body fluids, as it were. What that means is that sweat has also been implicated. And one of the reasons of sensitizing churches and religious gatherings also is to see how we can eliminate or reduce as much as possible the possibility of transmitting sweat from one person to another. And that is why if you don't have to shake someone, you don't have to. But if you do, and you have a hand sanitizer, you could also quickly use that up. It keeps you in good state, and we're sure that with that you won't be able to transmit that from from, for example, someone who has had a contact to somebody else. But you did mention about wildlife. It is known that fruit bats have been implicated as one of the vectors of Ebola virus disease, and fruit bats are known to travel very far. So even though we had an index case that was imported into this country, a fruit bat might well fly from anywhere out of there in the West Coast and fly into this country and then get into the wild there, eat those fruits that kids or anyone can go and pick up. And also fruit bats can be eaten by humans. And so if, for example, those bats are consumed, then of course you might be transmitting Ebola virus disease from bats to man.
What's the fruit bat in your local language and for the two of you?
It's called also.
Also,
yeah.
Do people eat also here?
Yes, there are people who consume bats.
What is
Adon?
Adon? Do people eat Adon?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
In fact, it's a very beautiful, it's a nice delicacy.
Oh.
I must say, in fact, particular period, they go to dislodge them in their where they reside, and they move and they keep shooting at them, and they get a lot of them. And particularly when you get to somewhere around Ife, there's a particular spot where they roast it, and it's pretty good. And I was watching out when I was coming whether they're still there. Of course, I saw that they have suddenly disappeared.
My next question is for both of you.
In my own case, it's important to know that it's just quite a small portion of people who actually indulge in this kind of delicacy.
And you have reached out to them.
Oh yes.
My next question is for both of you again.
Right.
And it has to do with being proactive.
Right.
You're both medical doctors.
Right.
Moving on now, in the next 10 years, hopefully we're able to clamp down on Ebola, and there's no such thing. And you never know, it's a global world. Something else breaks out. Are you looking at investing into medical research? Are you looking at the medical part of our universities and encouraging scientists? I haven't really met any scientist, a very thorough scientist who lives here, who's a Nigerian. They all fly out of the country because there's an environment that encourages their talent. Are we looking at that?
Yeah, thank you very much. I actually like that question, and that's why when you say Ebola virus disease has been on since 1976. And up until now, nobody has ever done any research to find out drugs. And then all we are just administering now are drugs that are still going through clinical trials. It gives one a lot of concern, and you get worried. So for us, as a long-term plan, true, we have put up the isolation ward. We have put up quarantine wards. But what we are doing, what the governor is we're working on, is to have actually an infectious disease hospital in Ondo State, and we have started the construction. As a matter of fact, we brought in the expert from UK who has worked in Liberia, worked in Sierra Leone, worked in Guinea to look at how we are going to put up this with a research lab that will be in place, and put all our people through training, and then because we want to be able as a government to be sure